Today, we're going to talk about the importance of having an inspection done on a new construction home. And Karlie, there's probably a lot of people out here that don't even know or don't even realize that they can have an inspection done on a new home. Is it something that's done all the time, right?
So it's actually not done all the time. I really wish more people knew about it. There's this big misconception out there that brand new home means a perfect home, that nothing wrong with it, it's good, ready to go to move in, and you're never going to face any problems. But
not always the case.
Yeah,
right.
not always the case. Usually for any inspection you get, you always get your money back out of it in terms of what comes up on the report. And you have a better idea of like the conditions of it and what you're really getting yourself into.
Even if nothing major came up on the report, there's still value in knowing what it is you're buying.
Oh, absolutely. If there's something that you'll need to fix in the next 5 years, and it's costly, you might want to save money up for that.
What would be the difference between what they have to comply with, say, the city inspector, versus what your inspector would be able to look at and uncover?
I definitely like to think of the city inspectors of just getting to the tip of the iceberg, while us home inspectors, whether it's a residential or a new build, we're getting the whole iceberg, both above and below, all the little details that can lead to any problems later on. So the biggest difference is just kind of what they focus on. City inspectors have like a smaller, more slim list to focus on, while ours is a lot more detailed and vast. Also, city inspectors, they're a lot more busier than we are. They probably do so many different jobs a day, like 5+. They're a lot more in and out with this process. Like I said, cover the basics.
Well, they're not looking at as many things,
exactly.
right?
So they don't need to spend like 3 hours like we will and be as meticulous. They're also working for two different people as well. The city inspector is actually going to be working for the city and builders, while our inspectors, they're going to be working for the buyers. They're kind of their advocate, is like another way I'd like to think of them. Just because they're third party, they're unbiased, they're just walking into these homes with a blank slate, looking to see whatever they can find.
Someone were buying a house that already existed, a resale house. It's not going to be possible to see behind the walls or see underneath the floor into the foundation, but on new construction, we do have that option if the buyer gets started early enough in the process. Help us understand the three different types of inspection.
There's 3 different phases, and like you mentioned, some of these you actually can see like below the foundation or even behind the wall. And that's something you'll never get with a resale unless you have thermal cameras, and still it's not the full picture.
It's not the same thing.
The first phase is the pre-foundation. That's when we're going to be able to see before they lay the foundation down, making sure everything is structurally sound.
So before they even pour the foundation, you're going to inspect it?
Exactly.
Okay.
Some of the tension cables that are kind of like the main structural point of the home is going to need like lay a certain way. They can't fall off their little tabletops and fall out of order. So we're double checking to make sure that at this moment, could we pour cement on here and it's good to go? Or if we did, would it make something not as great as it could be?
That's something that would be available on a new construction only, because you certainly can't do that on something that's already been built.
You can do foundation inspections and check like how like level it is, but you'll never truly know why is it causing these issues unless you pay a lot of money later for the resales.
They lay the foundation, then they start building the house. The next inspection would be what?
Pre-drywall. This is a cool part where you get to see behind the walls.
Because the walls don't exist yet.
Exactly, right? So it's really just wood pretty much on top of like the slab foundation. Is typically what you see here. This is where it focuses on all the structural issues. So we just covered the foundation. Structural is also a huge component of a home. We're going to make sure that they can install the windows later without them bursting and cracking, because it has to have like certain amounts of pressure points that are just like right. As well as that, we need to make sure that everything is going to be going into the right place. Usually in these pre-drywall phases, we can tell like, hey, they didn't put any insulation here. Or for example, their electricity seems a little off or weird. This is where they're going to find all those sort of things before they're hidden later on.
At that point, you're not looking at like plumbing or electrical yet, right? They have all the electrical.
We do look at that as well.
Yeah.
So for example, within that, I think they found some things like weren't connected properly, like outlets, for example. Those are one of those things that sometimes people they miss an outlet in the room. And it's not the hugest issue, but it can be something that's a pain in the neck later on once you're moved in and you can't plug in your phone right next to your bed, right?
It's a lot easier to catch it at that stage than it is after those walls are up.
Exactly, and I think that's like the biggest point anyone should get from this is if you want like things to be solved, then solve quickly, because problems are always going to arise whenever you're doing any sort of like new build or moving into a home in general. There's always something you're going to deal with. This gives you a little bit more power in your hands because now you're like choosing to like, hey, I have an advocate for me. They're finding things along the way. We're going to point it out to you, have documents of it, and then the builders can go about fixing it and addressing it properly so you don't have to stress about all those like little bitty details.
So we've done pre-foundation, pre-drywall. You provide a report. The buyer would be able to speak with the builder. The builder probably will address whatever concerns are.
Exactly.
And then once everything is complete, this is the one that probably most people are most familiar with. The house is already built, you've got a closing date, and then you have your inspector come in and do the final inspection.
Yeah.
This would be the third of the three on a new build, correct?
Correct. And now we're kind of doing almost a double check of everything. I mentioned before that, you know, in these two, we focus on foundation and structural. This is kind of focusing on those two. They're not forgotten,
right.
But primarily like focusing on the systems, like all the plumbing systems, electrical systems, making sure everything can drain properly, your HVAC works properly. Kind of your last chance to be like, hey, there's something wrong with this. Can we fix it now? Mm-hmm. Because once you move into it, the builders might not be as likely to fix it so quickly.
The way it normally works is you're talking a couple of days, let's say a week before your closing, is you'll do this pre-closing inspection, and then anything that's on the list you need to be addressed is given to the builder, and then the builder is either going to fix them or you don't close. So they have an incentive to get those things corrected before the closing date.
It's really important too, just to cross your T's and dot your I's that way, because I've heard horror stories, and I'm not saying all builders do this or even would want to do something like that, but it's just hard to get a hold of them. So relying on a warranty is not necessarily the best bet. But regardless, we even do builder warranty inspections. If you totally missed out on all the ones before, let's say you've already moved into your new construction, there's no other option for you because it's closed, right? Mm-hmm. Try to get a warranty inspection.
What exactly do you mean when you say a warranty inspection?
Someone has some sort of guidance as to like, okay, I have absolutely no idea what could possibly be wrong. Like this kind of seems funny. This faucet's leaking out from the side and onto the counter. But if they don't have any idea, we just do kind of a general overview just to check the major systems and see if everything's working properly.
Time-wise, this is after someone's already bought a house.
So this is a year warranty, sorry, to be more specific. Typically we're going in to do these like at the 10-month mark. So if you ever get any new build inspections with us, we're gonna call you in 10 months before that 12 the year has came around and say, hey, would you like to do the warranty inspection? Your time ends in this many months. This is our availability.
So if I'm understanding, then it's 3 inspections prior to owning the house.
Yeah,
and then
before
after
closing.
that, somewhere within that first year, you would provide the option of them having an additional inspection done.
Yeah,
then that's what you're calling the warranty
inspection.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, now I get it.
And it's super important to kind of like get it like scheduled or started around the 10-month mark, because as I mentioned before, they're not so quick to go in and fix stuff. So you want to give your time flexibility to find said issue, bring it up, address it to them, have all the proper paperwork. That way you can get the issue fixed.
So we've covered a lot of ground. I mean, we've talked about the actual process itself, the different inspections that are available if someone is purchasing new construction. Is there anything that we left out? Anything else you might want to add?
No, nothing else I'd love to add, but if anybody has any questions or wants to know something specifically pertaining to like new home inspections or regular residential ones, I'd love to answer your questions.
Contact information is underneath this video, and don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks for coming by, and we'll see you next time.